Welcome back.
Welcome back to, what episode, 3?
3, Trace.
Oh God, we're back to the Spanish counting.
Episode Trace, here we go. We have a very special guest today.
I know, we're really excited. Me and Sarah just took a bunch of pretty much toddlers and tiaras glamour shots of our merch because we finally got it all figured out, which by the time this airs, we'll see how many are left. We've been so overwhelmed in the best way with people that want to support, and we're really excited because we have a guest today, and the donations or the proceeds that we have for Sarah.
I know, sorry.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah, phone's going off over here. My bad, people.
The proceeds for our merch sales are going to her foundation, so we're really excited about it.
Yes, so she doesn't know that yet, so we're going to tell her when she comes on. So her name is Mary Beddell, and she founds the Josette Memorial Foundation. We'll give her a chance to properly introduce herself and probably correct our pronunciation.
Yeah.
But she's a very big presence in the Akron-Canton area, raising support for breast cancer, donating to local women. So we're going to hear her story. I have never even actually heard her whole story, but I know a little background of it. It's very touching and inspirational. So she's going to be on to talk about her organization.
Yeah, super excited. Me and Sarah are going to the fundraiser, and Sarah's been sending me fire selfies of outfits that she's trying on.
Some did not fit. What did I say earlier? Get the booty right. What did I say a second ago? Yeah, some do not fit over my curves, so it's been fun to try different things on, take them back. But I think I settled on one that is more appropriate for the event.
I'm staying true to myself and wearing black. And I said, Sarah, is that just like too dark for a fundraiser for cancer? Like maybe I should be wearing something more bright and lively, but that's just not who I am. Like I'm in all black right now. So
Breeze is gonna wear all black. I'm gonna be the most obnoxious pink sparkly dress out there that you've ever did see. But it's gonna be great. I can't wait. It just really speaks to our differences.
Totally. And the new aesthetic allegedly for this year is mob wife.
Oh.
And so like I am mob wife core.
Yeah.
Like it is absolutely my swim lane. I will probably be wearing a fake fur coat and
get it.
Maybe a veil over my face like a grieving Sicilian widow. I actually told my cousins last summer, I was like, that is actually my vibe is Sicilian widow.
Well, I couldn't be opposite of a mob wife.
I know.
So I am just really going to just be old and dated this year if that's the case. Fur will make me sweat.
Me too, but I mean,
what else constitutes a mob wife?
Like a lot of animal print, a lot of gold, gaudy jewelry.
Okay. Do you have
yeah.
to take on a persona?
I feel like I don't because it's just me. Like we are very much golden retriever, black cat. Like if we had to categorize the two of us, like you are golden retriever and I am black cat. And I feel like, don't you think?
Yeah, we should take that personality test actually.
I think we know, but we could do that just for confirmation. Yeah. I didn't realize, what is that, like the Briggs-Meyer one or no?
I don't know, but we should take a personality test. Let's find a good one and then share it with the people.
I'm kind of scared. I tried to take that
yeah.
But you had to pay like $25 to get the results, and I was like,
no, I took one. I know the free one.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what number I am. Yeah, maybe we'll share that later. Well, without further ado, we'll be introducing our special guest shortly, so stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.
You look great at every angle. Number one.
I think you look good.
Skin is popping. Okay, we're good.
Skin is popping. All right, welcome back, everyone. So, as I mentioned, we have our very special guest, Mary Beddell, and she was going to talk to us today about her mission and her story and all the things that come with it. So, without further ado, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, we did an outfit change thanks to you.
Yes,
our We Hate Cancer merch on, so we're so excited.
So subtle on my part. I'm like, you can put them on right now?
No, we love it. But it's a good transition though too, because we were talking before we started recording about me and Sarah figuring out our merchandise and what we want to do with it and the foundation that we want to donate it to. So 50% of our proceeds from our sweatshirt sales are going to Mary's foundation, which we're really excited about, and we're going to get into all of that and what it goes to. Sarah and I always talk about as survivors, it's great that there's so much awareness around breast cancer, but it's also a little bit scary because you feel like you're donating and you don't know where the money's going. Yeah. So we've kind of tried to make it our mission to find, especially local places that we can go and support where we know like it's going to a good place. So give us a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, God, I guess I wasn't expecting to talk about just me personally.
Yeah, let's do that first, because I feel like you're probably always talking about others, so we want to hear about you.
She has glowing skin.
Yeah, glowing.
She is.
I'm in my wind chime ball prep, which we'll talk about here soon. But so I live in Canton. I'm single. I'm an aunt to a whole gaggle of kids, aging from 3 up to 17.
Wow.
I know. So I love being an aunt. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. And I work full-time in public relations. I am the director of public relations for Plain Local Schools in Stark County.
Amazing.
And then I also am active in an organization called the Ohio School Public Relations Association. I am their chapter manager. And then, I run the nonprofit. So I always kind of tell people I have 3 jobs. They look different.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they all kind of fill my cup in different ways.
I love that.
And I really love people knowing, like, I remind people a lot that I have a full-time job, and I think it's an important part because when you're mentioning the breast cancer organizations, this is no shade to any other organizations, but they have full-time staffs that they're paying for with your donations, which is fine. It's always been really important to me that we're ran by volunteers.
Yeah.
And that might not be the case forever. We might outgrow that at some point. But up to this point, I've been really proud of the fact that, like, everybody who's involved is involved because they care about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pay my bills from this thing that means a lot to me. I want to have something separate. And, like, when I talk to young people, I always want them to know, like, your job, like, you don't have to have one identity.
Yeah.
That, like, that is everything. You can have, a job that does one thing for you, but you also have, like, all of this life outside of work, and it's okay to be a whole person, you know?
Yeah.
Goosebumps. Okay, 4th job, motivational speaker. Yeah, that's so inspiring already.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how did you, let's kind of just take a step back to
Sure.
give us an understanding of why you started this foundation.
Yeah.
How do you refer to it as foundation?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Because all those things, I don't know, when you're starting anybody out there who's starting something, think about where you're going to be in 10 years later. Do you like saying the name? Is it long?
So true.
When somebody needs to write a check out, because let me just tell you, I did not set myself up for success there. I'm like JOSETTE.
Yes.
So, kind of to back it up, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was in the 7th grade. Walking home from school, I knew she had an appointment that day, and so it's an integral part of the story because I remember very vividly, going home from school that day, my mom telling me she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it felt very big and heavy at the time because my mom's mom passed away from breast cancer before I was ever born. So I knew the term breast cancer forever because I didn't have a grandma because of it.
Yeah.
I also I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and my parents for the time, were considered older for having me. Present day, not the same at all. And so I feel like I was like maybe jealous of other people who had this grandmother relationship, and I always knew that breast cancer was the reason I didn't have that. And so when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was very young, but my mom was 50. And so her experience, I wish I had better details of what that was like, but I remind myself that I was an adolescent. And so, my memories of that are different depending on, and my siblings, we all have kind of different experiences with that. So basically, my mom, found out she had breast cancer, went through all of her treatment, and then was in remission for a little bit. And then it came back super fast and furious, spread throughout her body. And we found out, that it was gonna take her life when I was a senior in high school.
Wow. That's also a long time for her to be fighting that.
Yeah, it was. And I feel bad because I don't know what that was like for her day in, day out. But, and that looks so different on different people,
Right.
like even the term remission is really hard because like, does that ever leave your brain,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To tell you.
Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah.
So, for me, I graduated high school, May 28th, 2002. 4 weeks later, my mom passes away,
Oh my
June 29th,
gosh.
2002. So, like, in that cusp of when your life is very you know, everything's about you. When you're a senior in high school, it's like you're the most narcissistic you're ever going to be. Like,
truly.
The world is my oyster.
Yeah.
Everything is for me. I'm having parties. I did this shit,
Mhm.
graduated. And so that, you know, drastically changed. And some of the things that now mean nothing to me at the time, you know, I had to cancel my graduation party and like just some of those things that like felt huge to me at the time.
Yeah.
So then I go to college and I went to Kent State University. And I will say I kind of went there with a chip on my shoulder because at the time my mom got like you have 6 months to live. And my sister, big ups to Bridget, had to have all the hard conversations. And she was like, I think you should go to Kent. You need to be closer to home. Because we didn't know what that 6 months was going to look like.
Yeah.
In reality, it ended up being 1 month.
Oh my gosh.
But you know, at the time, we were thinking, okay, 6 months from now, you're going to be a
Yeah.
freshman in college. So I really had wanted to go to OU, but that was a 3-hour drive versus a 45-minute drive.
Wow.
So I go to Kent, and I loved Kent State. I really think I was meant to be there, and I had such a great experience. I'm still best friends with so many of the girls I met at Kent, but this big, huge thing was happening in my life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm grieving, and I don't know if you guys could tell, I'm a pretty outgoing person.
Love that.
So I went from, like, this version of myself that I'm introducing everyone to is like, hi, it's nice to meet you. Where'd you go to high school? My mom just died. You know, like, it's just...
Like, you're making us feel so better because it's like, and it's interesting to hear your perspective too, because I feel like that was us where we were like, hi, I'm Brianna, I have cancer. And it's like, you don't know when to drop that bomb on people, but it is such a big part of you and what you're going through that it's like, you want people to know, but how are you navigating those conversations? And also, you're 18 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, like I had the emotional intelligence of like pretty much a rock at 18.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you even have those
pebble.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's grown a little bit, but still, it's like, I can't even imagine what that was like.
Yeah.
And those are
Yeah.
such big first moments, especially, not that it's harder for girls, but I just feel like the relationship with your mom, like, I just feel like that was probably such tough waters to navigate.
Absolutely. And grief is very... here's the thing, you know, that I've learned, because now I'm almost 40, we discussed. But there's a lot of people who make it to 40 and who have never had a big grief, or 50, you know.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to navigate. Like, being older does not make it easier to navigate. And so, to some degree, like, now that I'm this far away from it, I think that helped me so much in just becoming, like, a woman that I'm proud to be. And, like, you know, all the being empathetic. And it's very easy, you know, at that time in your life, like, you are selfish. You know, everything is about you. And so, some of those things, just being able to be a more empathetic and compassionate person and what people had going on, you know, I think that helped me so much. But yeah, it was just a bizarro time. Like, I'm away from home for the first time. And everything is new. All these people are new. I am a physical touch person. I remember, and Kristen, if she listens to this later, my freshman year roommate, I remember being like, we need to hug. Like, I don't know if you're a hugger, but like, I need hugs. And so, like, day one, I turned her into a hugger. She wasn't.
Yeah,
but I was like, listen, I need a little
Yeah.
love throughout the week. And so, so those little things. So, you know, that's kind of step one. I was in college. All this stuff is happening. And I didn't know, like... I'm so impressed by, like, high school age kids who, like, know what they want to do with their life and, like, have vision. Because I'm like, how did you even know that stuff existed?
Still don't know. I know.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is so funny. Like, I'm always impressed by anyone who, like, has a vision and, like, actually achieves that goal. But it's
I think
okay
you
if
are
don't.
that person, though, by the way. I feel like where we're sitting now, you look like that person, but continue.
So I had no idea what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study. So I started studying. I joined this major, Human Development and Family Studies at Kent. Which is really about, like, the whole person, you know. It's kind of, Kent didn't have, like, a social work program. That's probably where I would have ended up, but this was very comparable, and it was more about, like, kind of understanding, like, pre-birth through death and, like, what that's like. And so I learned a lot about nonprofits during that time, but I'm glad that I ended up how I did, because I don't know that, like, a job in a nonprofit was the thing that I wanted to do. I think that my interest in the major was just because, like, I wanted to help people in some capacity.
Yeah.
We say that too. It's like, it's hard if you have to get up every day and go make money at a job that is, like, maybe a little bit emotionally triggering for you too, where it's like, you're having a bad day and you're like, I just have to put on a good face and go to work, and I'm struggling with this mentally. I think that that's really tough.
Yeah.
No matter what side of it you're on, of course. But yeah, I get that.
And just in general, like, I think your identity as a student exists for so long. And then when that goes away, you're like, who am I? What, like, where do I fit into this professional world? And like, what, there are so many jobs that exist that nobody even knows exist. You know, it's a whole thing. So, so I graduated college and I moved back to Canton, and that felt really right to me. I just had the conversation at the nail salon the other day. The girl doing my pedicure, I was like, you know, I think people really often feel like when you're young, you get some like shame about moving back to your hometown. Like, oh my gosh, you need to move to Chicago, or you know where, sorry.
No, not taken.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, people are like, you need to move to a big city and you haven't lived, you know? And I really love Canton. I love my family. My sister had just started having babies at that time when I graduated high school, and I wanted to see them grow up and all the things. So I moved back to Canton, and so me and my friends from Canton, my high school friends who knew my mom, you know, we started doing, and this is what 20-somethings do, we started doing, called it Run Club. Ooh. You guys are getting the long version of the story.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So we called it Run Club, which for me was Walk Club because I was not running. But we would go to the park together, like a big group of us. We would meet up, go to the park, we would do the track, and we would like go do something after or whatever. We'd like 3 times a week, Run Club. And so it was like a fun way to stay connected and like see each other. And I think when you're like 23, you're like really craving that word now. I'm like, I love being alone.
Same.
23 after work, I was like, what are my friends doing? You know? And so I think this was so cute of us. We started talking about like, oh, you know, we like more people were coming to Run Club. And so we were like, let's host our own 5K. And so just like a little silly idea of having our own 5K. And so one of my friends, Beth, love you so much, was like, we should do it in memory of your mom because it was summer. My mom passed away in June. And so let's have this event and like put something behind it, take this thing that's fun to us and, you know, do a little bit of a fun event in memory of your mom. Because at this point, it had been several years, you know, I have graduated college at this point. And we planned this event in 2 weeks. And so we just like, you know, called just all the things, you know, and like, they were like, you need to have $1 million insurance policy. And that scared me so much. And but like, it was like $90, you know what I mean, to buy. I was like, why'd you say it like that? Like, you didn't have to throw $1 million in there to scare me. So all these things, we ordered t-shirts, and we say the t-shirts were like $7. People, I'd be like, you could give us 10, you know. And so 80 people came. So in 2 weeks, 80 people came. My dad lived across the street from the park, still in the same house that I grew up in. And so all these people came because they loved my mom and wanted to remember her. And one thing that happens with grief a lot is that you stop talking about the person because you don't want to hurt other people. And so it's not because you don't want to talk about them, but you know that it can be painful for other people, so you kind of catch your tongue and you don't say the things that make you think of them because you don't want anyone else to be in a bad place mentally. And I felt like that was kind of happening. Like, we weren't talking about my mom a ton, and that made me sad. And so we planned this 5K, 80 people show up, and as they're writing me the checks, we raised $1,000.
Amazing.
And I was like, oh my God, we raised $1,000. And like that same day, I like Googled and I called the Susan G. Komen Foundation, and I was like, I raised $1,000. Where do I mail it? And the lady,
where's my plaque in the building?
The lady was just like, here's the address. Like,
unimpressed.
And no disrespect to whoever I spoke to, but it was like, just, you know, it was not a big deal to them. And as we were doing the walk, so the lap, it was like 2 laps around, I'm walking with my brother, and I might be romanticizing this part, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but I'm walking with my brother, and I was like, and he's like, this is so great, like, everybody came out, it's really fun that we got to do this. And I was like, well, I've had this idea in my mind. I want to help women who were just like Mom, who had breast cancer, and I'm going to call it the Josette Beddell Memorial Foundation. Nobody said, that's a mouthful. And I was like, and I just feel like there's people doing research, but like, what about the people like Mom who are just regular people, you know? And so I'm telling this to my brother, And he probably doesn't even realize that this was as profound as it was. And I think this is the difference because we're 4 girls, 1 boy. And
Oh my God, your
think,
brother.
I know. And I think boys think differently for a whole gambit of reasons that we probably don't have time to get into today. But my brother just so effortlessly was like, you should do it.
Yeah.
Like, what? You don't need anyone's permission. If you want to do this, look, you did this today. Like, start it. And I was just like...
That's what we call the white male privilege.
Yes,
Because they believe they can do anything, and they're like, well, why wouldn't you do it? And we need
Start
to be
right
more
now.
like, there's
I
nothing wrong with that,
know.
but like, we as women need to be more like that.
And you also have to say the things that are in your head out loud.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that validation from one other person is all you need. And for me, that... I guess maybe in my mind I thought maybe that, I don't know, I dreamt of all sorts of things, you know, and I just was like, oh my God, I want to run my own nonprofit. Never thinking about like functionality wise what that would look like. So I say that, you know, that little bit of spirit, that little bit of you can do it was like, okay, I can. Yeah. And so I feel like literally since then the stars have aligned because so many things fell into place in the way that they're supposed to. And so the big things were that my friend Beth, who I had mentioned, she was like, hey, I told your idea about starting a nonprofit to my brother. Her brother is older than us at the time, and he's an attorney. And he's like, I've been wanting to get involved with a nonprofit. I'm going to help you guys with all the things.
Awesome.
And so John, we love you, John, all the things that were scary, the $1 million insurance, the paperwork, John made all the scary things less scary because they weren't actually scary. They were scary to me because I was 24. And he's like, I'm 30. I'm an attorney. Like, I'm a grown up, you know? And so John helps us through all of that. And so like that first 5K was the summer of 2009. So like a full year later, maybe then in 2010, we like meet for the first time to discuss. So we have a 5K in 2010 then. So then after the 5K in 2010, then, you know, we raise from that $1,000 to maybe like, I don't know, $8,000 or $9,000 at that next event. And so then we're like, we raised money. How do we get this? Like, my idea was just always like, I want breast cancer patients to be able to pay their bills.
Yeah.
Like, and so for me, my mom was just a regular woman. Like, she cared about her community, cared about her family, like, you know, was just nice, taught us to hold the door for strangers, like just normal things.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, there's all this like big grand stuff over here, but like there's all these women in between. Like while we're waiting on the research, these women are dying, and they also like have to struggle to worry about like, you know, do I get my high school senior their senior pictures, or do I get the thing that I need, you know? And I didn't know about any of that stuff in my own family, but I have to imagine it existed to some extent. And so I just always had this feeling like I just want people, and I'm not fixing the problem by any means, I just want people to be able to, like, for one day, breathe a little easier. It's not fixing it, it's not making it go away, but if like that one day that you get a check and you can be like, oh, I don't have to worry about this, like, if that makes their experience better, then that works for me.
Yeah, amazing.
So our mission is that, super simple. It's never changed. It's Ohio, because that's what I can get my arms around. You know, I pray that there's people who can help in bigger ways than I can, but like I can go to bed at night and feel good because like I'm helping women in my backyard. So Ohio was always the thing. And then super simple, you're going through breast cancer treatment or you've been impacted by breast cancer in some way financially, we want to just lessen the load for you.
Yeah.
And then because I was so young, and me going to college was so important to my mom, we do a college scholarship every year. It's a lot smaller piece of the pie, but like still an important part of our mission. And so in 2011, we gave our very first grant to a single mom from Cleveland. And it was a girl I went to college with. She had seen me post about it. She's like, my sister has breast cancer. I'm like, we'd love to give her money. Like,
come on down.
Yeah, and she was like, actually, like, this is really good timing because she's going through a divorce and like all these things are happening in her life. And we're like, we got her. So that first grant in 2011 was for $1,000, and today it's 2024. We've given out $1.2 million.
Goosebumps. You should be so proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Quite literally.
You know, and it's when you were telling that story, you mentioned like, number one, I heard you say people are scared to kind of bring up the person that you lost in grief because you feel like you're hitting a spot where people are feeling overly upset or sad or whatever the case may be. And number two, you said that your foundation name was a mouthful, but think about how often people are saying your mom's name.
It's like my absolute favorite thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take that away for anything. I love that people who never met my mom are like, the Josette Beddell
Yes.
Foundation, like the legacy of her name, just, it means so much to me.
It's amazing.
And I completely agree. And I think it really changed, because now, like, none of us hesitate to tell stories about our mom and like things about her. And, you know, none of us can fix, like, she got dealt a crummy hand, you know. And if I think about it too much, you know, she didn't get to meet any of her grandkids. She didn't get to see any of us get married. Like, you know, some of those things we'll say like, oh my gosh, what would mom think about this, you know? But the legacy of, and all the things that I like about myself, I learned from my mom, you know, and she was to her core, like, be kind to others type of person. Like, and my mom would always say, like, you do not have to go far to do good. Like, people worry too much about, like, I need to go on this big grand, like, no, like, help your neighbor, you know, carry their groceries.
Yeah.
You can do little things that, like, together make something big. And so, like, that's kind of just been our, you know, our mission. And I will be honest, like, I was telling someone yesterday, like, I never dreamt of this side of this. I mean, like, I just was like, I want to help people. And we have just tried to, call on the talents of the people around us, you know, like John, he's an attorney and he could do this. You know, one of my best friends, Amy, her dad owns a printing company. And so to this day, he prints things for us, you know, at no cost. One of my best friends, Ange, was studying graphic design at the time, so she just developed our logo, and she still to this day helps me manage our website and makes all of our graphics for us. So, like, calling on people's talents. And I think for me, being so young at the time, it gave a platform to my friends to do good. People want to think charity work is only for older people, and I really loved that, like, at this time in my life, when I'm in my early 20s, so many people were able to get involved in some way to do good, because, like, we can do it, you know. So
what kind of cancer did your mom have?
I don't know, I'll be honest. She had because this was also when she was diagnosed, I don't know, like 1997.
Yeah, I feel like a lot has changed since then.
So much. But she had, like, not a lump. She had, like, the, like, dots all around, you know, that were caught in her mammogram. So, she, you know, went through tons of surgeries and chemo and radiation and all the things. So.
And I assume you're very diligent about your health and making sure that because we were talking before we started recording that we feel like the numbers are rising for young women too. And right now the standard is 40 for mammograms. And I've talked to my doctors a couple times about this. I'm like, is there any movement in the medical field, as if I'm like a doctor by proxy, but I'm like, have you guys thought about maybe we should be changing how old women are when they're getting mammograms? And they were like, looked at me like I had 7 heads.
I know.
I'm like, I know I'm not a doctor, but, like, I do feel like there is data there. I don't know.
I had to really fight for it too.
Really?
Yeah, so I started mammograms at 30, but I had to go through genetic counseling first, which ended up being a really great process. I was annoyed, like, that there was this requirement, but once I did it. So I did genetic testing. I did a second round of genetic testing as there was more advancement. So I don't have the genetic component, and it's very likely that my mom and her mom didn't either.
It's so crazy that your mom and her mom.
I know. So when I did the genetic testing, though, they explained it very well, that, like, she kind of said, like, here's a cup, and, you know, you're doing a drop of water, and one drop makes the whole cup overflow, but you don't know which thing. So it's like all those things together had to come, you know, I don't know. So I'm actually, shout out to the Atrium OBGYN. I'll be there on probably when this comes out. But yeah, I have my appointment, I think, in a week or two. And I think even you guys probably know, like, to explain that to people, like, it sucks. I mean, there's a mental drain involved. And I started doing kind of it was recommended for me to go every 6 months. And then they said, you know, we have a good enough baseline. We can go to once a year. And then sometimes that'll change and you'll go and they'll ask for more, which I appreciate being super diligent, but it is very emotionally draining.
And do you feel like it also triggers a lot of anxiety, especially being around all these stories of women that are being diagnosed, your mom, your grandma? Do you feel like a heightened sense of your health when it comes to that, or is that not something that really crosses your mind?
That doesn't, probably less compared, well, you know, with having sisters, and you know, the crazy thing is, and this is how learning more about the genetic component, we all, like, we feel like statistically it's going to happen to one of us, but like that's not true. It could be more than one of us. It could be none of, it's very, but also me and my sisters and I are all like this, where we're like, I hope it's me. Like, if it has to be one of us, because we don't want any of the rest of us to have to go through this. And anytime that I've had to like go back, you like have that little period where you're like, gosh, what if this, I know that it's always been a possibility, but what if this is the time that pushes it from possibility to real? And then of course there's like a whole gambit of other things that can happen to you that at any given moment. So you have to stay kind of present in, for me it's more the applicants, because at this point we have helped, thousands of people. It went from, in the beginning, I knew every single person's name and story. And so like the emotional toll of reading everyone's bad news is the thing.
I could have that.
Yeah. And so I have to like, at this point, I have to kind of protect my peace in that, like, I try to do that kind of all at once. So like where before, every time we get an application, I'd read it right then. And it's too emotionally draining. I have to kind of go through them all at one time versus the back and forth, because it just doesn't do anyone, it doesn't serve anyone for me to constantly be feeling bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
how, if someone's listening now that could potentially be worthy of a grant or qualify for it, what is your application process, or like what does that look like? What does your ideal candidate look like?
So one is that like the qualifications are very low. You have to live in the state of Ohio and you have to have or have had breast cancer. That's all. We have plenty of people who on paper look like they have a high income, but we know what reality is like. Like your income on paper does not mean anything compared to the world you live in today. So we have kind of, there's no one, don't think if you're listening to this that you don't qualify because of something like that. Everyone's situation is different. So we do our grant rounds every other month. So we do like 2 months worth of applications at a time. So it's kind of just like a rolling every 8 weeks. And I believe, we'll do December and January at the end of January, and then every 2 months after that. So they can go to our website. JosetteMemorial.org.
We'll put all this also like in our socials and all that stuff.
Click the link.
Click
and there's just an application. It's gotten more detailed over time just because of, us getting bigger and more. But real basic, just what your experience is like, what you're going through. The more details you can give, the better. That helps us in making our decisions easier. We try to help everyone. I mean, really, there's not really a situation where you're not going to be considered for something. We budget, and I know we're going to talk about the wind chime ball more, but that kind of helps set our budget for the year. And sometimes why I get so crazy in our planning is because I know how much money we raise means how much we can give away. And so last year we were lucky, we gave out $275,000 last year alone, and that number is bigger than I ever dreamed of. But coming out of COVID is such a big part of it too, because we were so lucky. We had our fundraiser literally like
right
2 weeks
before
the world closed.
And
And I know so many nonprofits had to face, I mean, some shut their doors and not, missing one fundraising cycle can put some people out of commission. And so we were so lucky that didn't happen to us, but we did have to not have the wind chime ball in 2021. And we had to be really conservative, so it feels really good to kind of be back on this. Like, we raised a lot of money last year. We gave a lot of money away the next year, know?
So let's talk about the wind chime ball.
Yes.
Anybody who's following you on social media knows what a grind. Every time I look at your social media, you're out somewhere promoting all the things. So let's hear about it.
Well, it's working because you go on sale for tickets and it sells out in like an hour.
Yeah, we are lucky. Second base is going to be there this year.
So excited.
Thanks to Mary.
So excited.
I already have my dress. We're going black cat and golden retriever. We talked about that earlier. No, she just is more of a black girl.
I said my aesthetic is Sicilian widow.
Which is very in right now.
The most pink, obnoxious, sparkling.
No, I love it. I love it.
It has been declared the year of sparkle. And so
You're on time.
I'm telling all the girls to get in line. It's the year of Sparkle. I don't
Yes.
make the rules, but I do follow them.
Perfect.
Okay, so the wind chime ball, and that COVID year messed us up because we used to do like first annual, second annual, and because I'm a grammar girly, you can't say that once. You have to skip a year. You can't say annual anymore. So now people are like, do it anyways, and I'm like, that's not how this works. So it's now we refer to it as the year. So the 2024 wind chime ball. So it'll be our 13th wind chime ball.
Wow.
It would have been our 14th. But so how the wind chime ball came about. Actually, again, my brother, shout out to David, he had gone to a fundraiser in Cleveland. He was living in Cleveland at the time. That was like a black tie event, and his friends had so much fun. And what we realized is that once you leave high school and your friends get married, there's like not a lot of opportunities to like get up and feel good or dress up and celebrate, and people love it, and so we were like, let's have a black tie event. So the first year, 2011, we had the very first wind chime ball, and I'll tell you the secret behind the name. I'll spoil it because I always talk about it at the event, but I'll give you guys an inside scoop. Inside scoop. And so we wanted to have this black tie event auction. It's so funny how it's evolved because I think about year one, none of us had ever thrown an auction or a big event or anything like that. We had a line out the door because our check-in process was so slow. People were like, why do we even need to check them? And we didn't, which we don't have check-in anymore because just like show up, Mm-hmm. But like all the silly things that like didn't work well year one, we fixed since then. But we had so much fun. It was just like the best night. It's been there's a secret sauce, and I can't explain it. Yeah. People ask me about it all the time. People who are throwing their own charity events are like, can you just tell me? I wish I could tell you. Mm-hmm. The stars align, and it is a fun celebration of life. Amazing. Our goal is not, we might cry for a few minutes in the beginning, but then it's done. We're on the dance floor, we're dancing. We only have the life that we're living right now, right? Yes. And it's like, you can't wait till next year I'm going to do it. Like, you have to get on the dance floor and live your life and celebrate and sparkle and all the things. So it is a gala of sorts, full glam across the board. Men, suits, tuxes are appropriate.
Love a man in a tux.
Oh, same, right? We always call it a pink tie event instead of a black tie event.
I love that.
And so it is kind of a glitz and glam, but we have silent auction, a live auction, a raffle. We do 50-50, a restaurant board, wine pool, and all the money we raise helps our fundraising or our giving efforts for the following year. And so last year we raised $235,000.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm really not going to be happy unless we hit 250 this year.
You will.
But I think I'm hoping more. And so the sellout thing is like, it's a double-edged sword because I love that people want to come but I want everyone to come, and so it's really nice that we sell out and it makes it so fun. But I wish that everyone could be there. But
how many people? 700.
Yeah,
and it sold out within 2 hours.
It sold out within like 5 minutes.
No way. I mean, that just speaks to how amazing and how supportive the breast cancer community is out there. And to speak to like the glimmer there, think about it. Everybody that has been touched by breast cancer or breast cancer survivors or maybe people that are going through it I can see why it's a jamming time. Yeah. Like just having those people in a room together, I cannot wait.
It's electric. Yeah.
I'm
really glad you guys are able to come.
So excited.
And it's so fun, and we do a very tight program. Like it's not a long drawn out. I mean, like we're there to celebrate.
Yeah.
And so it's so fun, and the support means so much. I do. There were some people who weren't happy we sold out so fast, and I had to remind them, like, we're all volunteers, we're just doing the best we can. And it's crazy too, because we are in pretty much the biggest venue that we can be, and we have a fantastic relationship with our venue. We are in like the thick of it right now. So if anyone wants to support that, I wish I could tell you that you could come, but tickets are sold out. I am going to announce we did a contest on our Facebook page. Mm-hmm. So I'm announcing today who won those tickets
That's
and make
amazing.
somebody's day. But we are still collecting baked goods. We do, dessert platters at all the tables, so if anybody wants to help with that. And we are still collecting donations of all sorts. We will be through the beginning of February. So there's nothing too big or too small. So if you have something to contribute, whether that's a $5 gift card or a vacation rental, your pick, we'll take anything in between. So
Okay, and just to remind the people again, where do they send that?
so they can
Or email
well,
you?
they can message us on any of our socials, but on our website josettebememorial.org, there's a Wind Chime Ball tab, and then there's forms for all the different things. So they can just complete the form or shoot us an email, and we'll get them in touch with
And if anyone can't come and just wants to donate to the
Yeah.
cause, they could just hit you up
help
on
help
your
us.
website.
Yeah, make a
Awesome.
donation. Help us reach our goals, and then we'll be able to announce next year however much money we raise. We're gonna give more than that away.
Yes,
So.
amazing. And you never told us the story about the wind chime.
Oh, aw, yeah. It's super special because it's so funny because so many people think of the Wind Chime Ball with this. They don't even always know the name of our organization, but they're like, "Are you from the Wind Chime Ball?" So when my mom was sick and knew she was gonna die, she told me and my siblings to just always listen for wind chimes, and that would be her way of letting us know that she was still with us. And I hear wind chimes all the time in the craziest times. And so the Wind Chime Ball is a celebration of that. It's a celebration of the people we lose are still with us, and honoring the people who are going through this journey, fight, whatever you want to call it. I know there's so many things that are I don't call it that or whatever. I want to honor all the people and what your experience is like, because I only know this little sliver of it from my experience, but having people there who are in it means so much to us, because my mom is the reason it started, but you guys are the reason why it continues.
We have said before, we hope we get to a place where we're all out of business. I would love to get to a spot where we don't have to do these anymore because there's a cure, and that's just not the reality of where we are now. So what you're doing is, you should be so proud of yourself.
You were
because
so
it's amazing.
inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would love to be we're calling it quits.
Yeah.
We're not needed anymore. I completely agree. If that could happen in my lifetime, it would be incredible. And I suspect that it won't, but maybe for my nieces. And there's actually I have a cutout from when my mom wrote a letter to the editor. We all, when she was starting her journey, we all we surprised her, and we did the American Cancer Society walk together, all of our friends and neighbors. And my mom wrote in the paper I just hope in writing this that my daughters don't have to endure this. And so it just then you're always thinking for the generation behind you. I just think, well, maybe this won't be something that my nieces have to go through, and that they're going to think the same for their kids. And there has been so much in this amount of time that has changed, but it's not it's not enough.
Always gonna be more.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Are you still looking for volunteers too?
So we got a really strong interest in volunteers. So we did actually turn off that form, but you can still shoot us an email. If you feel, if you're listening to this and you feel very passionately that you feel driven and you want to come help that night, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I will say these are a few things to consider. You will be standing up for 6+ hours. It's a lot of humans. People are consuming a little bit of a beverage that night, and so you have to love that fast-paced, loud environment. So if you're hearing all of that, you're this is for me. Shoot us an email.
There you go.
And volunteers for your foundation as well.
We when we have certain events, we are always open to having people come help, but it looks different because this is our flagship event, and then we partner with whatever organization will have us. So typically that ends up happening in October. But we always need people who are willing to come and help and all the things.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being
thank
here.
you.
Oh my gosh,
And
thank you
yes,
guys.
you're such a ray of sunshine.
You are.
Oh, I'm so happy to meet you
I'm
both.
so touched
and
by your story.
I think people ask what the secret sauce is, and I think it's you.
I
I'm not just
agree.
saying that to make you
I
feel
agree.
better because you're sitting in the room with us, but I think that it's so obvious why you do this and why you're passionate about it, and people get behind that.
Yeah,
as they
thank you
should.
so much.
So be passionate about what you're doing would be my advice to anybody.
I completely agree, and I think like, you know, say your dreams out loud,
Yep.
and you don't need permission to help other people. If you see a need, you can just do it right now, and that can snowball into something bigger than you could have ever dreamt of. And so, you know, I'm really
like your
proud.
mom said, you don't have to go far to do good.
She absolutely, yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
We did it.
We did it.
Yeah.